not testified already.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out a typo that was found by the attorney so that you guys are aware of it.
Sure.
Line 5, the word arraignment should be arrangement. And I would appreciate it if the committee could fix that.
We'll think about it. Any members of the public wish to testify that have not testified already?
Yes. Red's hot. Hot mic. Senator Abbas, Senator Long. My name is Robert Tangway, and I oppose this bill, and so does Mr. Z. My child's stuffed animal, I have not seen my children in over 2 years. A couple things that I want to point out is we're going to hear a narrative today from the state and the legislators out of Children and Family Law that, you know, this is in the best interest of the people and the fathers, and or not the fathers, just the people who need child support. Yes.
Just to clarify, are you testifying in opposition to House Bill 213?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So it's an expedient to legislate, and it's on false terms. We really need to be removing 173B, which is unconstitutional, which is causing a lot of duress. The state gets funding from the federal government. Over 1/3 of our budget comes from federal grants. So there's over $9 billion that we get in federal and total revenues, and over $3.5 billion, or approximately $3.5 billion, comes from federal grants. These are numbers from New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute. Of that, a large majority of 1/3 goes to the Department of DHHS. So what we have is a system of servitude which offers a candy bucket or incentivizes families to break up at the cost of families and the general public. So the state gets lots of money, and further, lawyers get lots of money. And child support was originally created for oopsies and absent parents, which were at that point typically fathers. Picture of the 1930s, Dust Bowl America. Someone goes into a town and has a child, and then they never see anybody and they track them down. That's where it started. It wasn't until the 90s where we really started getting a lot of federal money.
If I just may, this bill is involving wage garnishments in simply a court form if the parties want to voluntarily enter into their own private arrangement, and it's just a form the court would create. It's not impacting child support guidelines, how much is paid, the system itself. It's not making any change on any of those issues other than what's in the bill.
I respectfully disagree. First of all, there's no such thing as wage garnishment in the statute. The statute is called income assignment, and that definition is not defined. You have to look into case law, which is income assignment, which is or the doctrine of income assignment, which is for income, and it basically says that income earned cannot be assigned to anybody else to avoid taxes. That's typically how it is. So you earn income tax, you can't give that to someone else so that you can get a lower tax burden, you know, with the bracket system. So it's not garnished. It's called income assignment. And what we have, but also part of 458, is that it's a lawful order. It must be a lawful order. And really what's happening is DHHS, the state, is contracting with the courts to rush litigants through and retaliate against pro se individuals to get federal grant money. And how they get the federal grant money is by creating child support orders. It does not matter how much the child support order is. All that matters is that there is a child support order. And that is, so when you see all this legislature, when you look at through that those optics, you're going to see a scheme of getting federal grant money. That federal grant money may dry up. We are extensively in debt. And then it also creates incentives for families to break up. And what the state's not, as I believe as Rep. DeSimone said, she can't even get the number of people who are in arrearages. Can't even get the number of total people who are under child support, let alone arrearages. And then further, I've also requested what percentage of them are men and what percentage of them are women. So you're also seeing a systemic violation, which leaves the state open to lawsuit, because the state, again, is entering a contract with the federal government to get child support, and they're pushing it through at the behest of lawyers, family court lawyers, who charge $250 to $350 to $400 an hour to cause contention. Now, if there was no contention and no child support of any logical amount, people were allowed to willingly pay, there would be less fighting. For instance, so how the state controls it and the courts control it, if I may.
No, if I just may.
Yes.
We are behind schedule in that we have a full room here. This has to do with wage garnishments that involve child support, not the ideology behind child support, the grant money,
Yes.
whether we agree with the child support laws, whether it's just, whether it's equal.
I'm getting to that right
I appreciate
now.
what you're saying, but if we
So
can save
the
bill,
state
it'd be
wants an
appreciated.
enforcement mechanism because they create incentive. Now, as I was saying, if they do not have a sizable amount, people are less likely to use the system. They're less likely to break up because they cannot financially handle two households. And secondly, they are they're not going to pay for a lawyer that's going to promise them a $250,000 judgment, which is what child support is. It says it in the law. A child support order is a judgment. So they have an enforcement mechanism, and you guys want this enforcement mechanism, but it has nowhere RSA 546A:5, where wealth shall be considered, and that's assets. So I oppose this bill as inexpedient to legislate, and you guys should be asking questions because I understand this completely and I have experience with it firsthand. And the basis for all of my problems is child support, and many of the problems. We're breaking up families to award a candy bucket to one party, which is typically a woman, which typically gets the children, which typically gets the child support money. And that must be substantial, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So that's how you get child support orders of $1,000 a month, $2,000, $3,000 a month for working class people, while they have to maintain a separate household, which is really causing the problem with housing in the state of New Hampshire. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any members of the